Hello, my name is Matthew Millen, and you're watching A Plea for Sanity, or in this case, I'm going to call it A Plea for Honesty. And I'm talking about a lot of things, but primarily gun control versus the Second Amendment, and why the Second Amendment is important, and why I think we should continue to have the right to bear arms as the Constitution grants us. First and foremost, I'm going to talk about the gun violence statistic, which is complete fabricated bullshit. There's no other word for it. Why is it completely fabricated and bullshit? Because they lie to you. It's Orwellian doublespeak at its best. Because they use the term gun violence anytime a firearm is discharged and someone is hit. This includes... Actually, it doesn't even have to have someone hit, but that's... So, let's say somebody breaks into your house and you own a firearm. You take that firearm and you kill that person. That's gun violence. Let's say you are depressed and you kill yourself. That's gun violence. Let's say you're too stupid to own a firearm and you accidentally shoot yourself. That's gun violence. So that would be equivalent to calling anytime someone is hit by or in a car accident, or an accident involves a car and someone is injured, calling it car violence. That's false equivalency. It would be stupid to do that, but it's what they do. Secondly, I hear that there is no evidence of an armed society, of a modern armed society, that works. Like Secular Talk, a show that I really, really love, and I really respect the host of that. And I agree with him 2/3 of the time, I would say. He said that he's heard the argument, Kyle, I think his name is, he said that he's heard the argument that more armed people equals more good people that have firearms and less gun violence. And he's like, but I haven't seen evidence. I have evidence. I have irrefutable evidence. Love it. There's this country that most people have heard of called Switzerland. Almost every male between 18 and 35, I want to say, have in their possession a fully automatic weapon because they're considered members of the Swiss Standing Army. And they go out on weekends with their firearm. Now, it's technically military property, but it's kept in their house. Like, they have what we would call in America, under the Federal Firearms Act, a machine gun in their house. They don't really have violent crime in Switzerland. One could make the argument that you're not going to break into someone's house when you know they have a machine gun. You could make that argument, and there might be some justification. But I'm not going to make that argument because correlation is not causation. I will say that time and time again. Correlation is not causation. What does that mean? That means even if the statistics might indicate your point, doesn't make the statistics responsible for your point. And I don't even care that the statistics in that case is agreeing with me. Because I'm going to say the same thing about the gun violence statistic. Correlation is not causation. In fact, I really would like to see how many of these gun violence is committed with high-capacity magazines, assault weapons, and and people who didn't do a universal background check. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that statistic. I want to see that statistic, but they're not going to release that statistic because it completely disproves their point, which is simply political grandstanding. Secondly, so I talked about... Here's what I would see happening, and this is why I really disagree with proposal to ban assault weapons, high-capacity magazines, which really don't exist. You could argue they don't exist, that most things called high-capacity magazines are not really high-capacity magazines. The round count I've heard tossed around is like 4 rounds. Any magazine holding more than 4 rounds is classified as a high-capacity magazine, according to politicians. That's not really true either, but I digress. Here's what I would see happening. Well, where are these illegal guns coming from? I think we need to worry about illegal guns more than legal guns. Where are the illegal guns coming from? Mexico, mostly. The Mexican drug cartels, and I'm not being racist. Also, traffic in firearms and human slavery. But right now, their main cash cow, if you will, is drugs. If we pass this, that it's really, really going to add a boom to their business in firearms. And I don't want to give the drug cartel more money. So, on that grounds alone, I think an assault weapons ban is a bad idea. Secondly, let's talk about the Second Amendment. Like, even if all of the points I have made up to this point you disagree with, the fact of the matter is the Constitution states that you cannot infringe on the right of the citizen to be armed. The right to bear arms. Now, a lot of people like you're misreading it. No, you are. You're misreading it because you don't think we should have guns. Even the Supreme Court, with some Orwellian doublespeak, says, well, yeah, that's what it says. However, the states should have the right, and this is what the Supreme Court has ruled, to restrict people from owning guns to ensure the safety of a society. This is what this based on not what the Constitution says. This is them interpreting. But I'm not going to get to the living, breathing Constitution argument, which is, I think, bullshit argument. So, if you want to ban these things, you need to do it the right way, which is a constitutional amendment, which you do not have the proper amount of support to ratify. Okay, so let's talk about why else. And yeah, I might get into the whole tin hat wearing conspiracy theory, sovereign citizen, whatever you want to call me. No, I'm not. That's just not who I am. I am a student of history. And the reason I think the Second Amendment is important is because it helps keep the government in check. I really, really, really am scared of our government, and you should be too. Our government, routinely, in the past, has overthrown democratically elected governments and installed puppet dictators to advance American corporate interest. They did it in Iraq. They've done it in Southern and Central America. Have you heard the term banana republics? Do you want to know where the term banana republic came from? It's when a government is like, we think our agriculture should not go to America on pennies on the dollar, keeping us in poverty. And the American Fruit Company said, well, I think that's cute, but then the CIA came in and overthrew them. They actually tried this in Cuba too, with the Bay of Pigs. So our government routinely goes in and overthrows other governments to advance U.S. corporate interest. This has been the backbone of U.S. domestic policy for a very long time. If you ask me, it's probably why we went to war in Iraq. But what would happen if we elect we rise up and elect an intelligent person as president. Yeah, I don't think he would last long. Like, most of our presidents have been puppets. They really have been puppets for a very long time. Just Obama is a great example of a puppet. The corporations, the military-industrial complex, has their hands so far up President Obama's ass that it's like, I admit that his domestic policies have been better than President Bush. They have. His international policies, on the other hand, have been pretty bad. Like, pretty close to Bush level bad. And furthermore, with the passing of the 2011 National Defense Authorization Act, I really, really, really think we should have guns. What's this 2011 National Defense Authorization Act? This was big, 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 big news at the time. It's kind of faded away. But it basically made it to where the U.S. can legally conduct military activity, activity is probably the wrong word, U.S. military operations on U.S. soil, which has been previously illegal for over 100 years. Basically, if the U.S. military foresaw the need to engage in warfare against U.S. citizens, they now can do that legally. This scares the fucking piss out of me. And it should you too. You don't need that kind of power unless you are planning some sort of tyrannical activity. Sorry, that's kind of what a police state is. And we don't want to live in a police state. And that's the reason the Second Amendment was even put in the Constitution. Let me pull up the quote, make sure I get who said it right. Wrong window. Oh. Make sure I'm right. I believe it was Jefferson. Yes, Thomas Jefferson said, the tree of liberty must be refreshed with the blood of tyrants and patriots alike. It is its natural manure. All sorts of our founding fathers would be classified as political. Well, actually, all of our founding fathers would be classified as political radicals today. And that's why the Constitution is written. It's written in case the Second Amendment is put there in case the government gets too much power and becomes tyrannical. We have the ability to fight back. And I'm not saying it's there. I'm not saying it's anywhere near there. I'm saying that the Second Amendment is a safeguard in case it gets there, and that's why it needs to stay. Just like the safeguards that the Bush administration took out to prevent the banks from crashing the economy, and then the banks crashed the economy. The Second Amendment is the same kind of safeguard. So, yeah, that's why I'm for the Second Amendment. Thank you. And if you disagree with me, well, I'm sorry. Not sorry, I guess. These are just my political views, and this is my channel. So, thank you for watching, and have a nice day.